So is anybody glad that the sun is coming out? Because that's the way I feel. I made a video all about enjoying wintering, but it's just time. After February, I am just ready for all the sunshine. The buttercups are blooming in the backyard. Come with me today. We're going to make some lemonade. We're going to use up this spaghetti squash that I have desperately needed to cook since the fall. And we're going to just do some deep cleaning in the kitchen because we need to wipe away all the grime. It's just all over my hood. Like when I really got to look in, I'm like, wow, it is pretty bad. One thing I've been thinking about lately is just what a gift it is to get to build up my home. I'm not somebody that feels especially confident in decorating and all the things. I feel kind of scatterbrained, to be honest, with 5 kids, 10 and down. Always messes to clean. Sometimes it feels like brushing my teeth with Oreos, but still just that hope that I'm making forward motion on just creating a peaceful home for my kids to be in, despite all the chaos. It just feels like a really overlooked but amazing job. And I don't know if you ever do this, but I'm taking some leftover smoothie and I'm just going to make some popsicles. I really like this metal, I guess it's called a cold bust. I'm not sure what it's called, but I'm taking a little bit of lemon zest because I feel like this smoothie is good, but just with popsicles, it tastes better when they're a little bit sweeter or they have a little bit of sourness. So just added a little bit of zest to give it a little bit of oomph for the popsicles. So this smoothie was actually lemon birthday cake, just ingredients, protein powder. It was blueberries, it was milk, and it was coconut cream. I am down to the bare bones in my pantry, and I just kind of play this game with myself. Honestly, like a couple days before we get paid, I like to run my refrigerator down. I like to clean it out. I like to use up all the extra things. And so it kind of feels like a challenge, like, okay, what can I make with what I have left? And I would have loved to show you the finished product of the popsicles, but of course those things were eaten in no time. I think even before I realized they were gone. I was cleaning my kitchen, but as I looked through that little peephole in my kitchen, all I could see was just a mess over at the hall tree. That's what I call this thing that my dad made. And just cleats everywhere. Baseball season is upon us. So just trying to get all the mittens out. It's just one of those things. It's such a gift to live in a place with 4 seasons, but if you are like me and you live in a place with seasons, it's a big job switching out all the clothes. It's a really big deal. One thing I really feel passionate about, I only want the clothes out in the closets and by the hall tree or the shoes that we're currently using, because I like to only see the season that we're in. But it's always so tricky in the spring when you're like in between seasons, because you might have some cold days, you might have some hot days. But I feel like it's just finally gotten warm enough where we don't need the mittens anymore, we don't need the hats anymore, and to put it in a spot that's not quite so immediate, not to be in prime real estate. And it's also been nice just to have my windows down in the house. We took the storm windows off of our house. They were just really broken, and we realized when we couldn't open our windows, we're like, hey, we need to look at these storm windows. And we had really old storm windows that were sealing our windows up, and so we took those off, and it's been nice just to be able to open the windows and just get some fresh air in our house. I don't know if you ever think about this, but the air inside of our home, it's almost like a box of air. And when we can open the doors and windows, it is so good for the air in our home. A lot of times, especially if we're using any kind of fragrance stuff in our house, we can actually be breathing in polluted air, which just is so bad for us. So it's just nice just to open the windows when we can. And I love cooking with my cast iron skillet. I feel like a lot of times people just don't understand how durable a good cast iron skillet can be. I think the one trick you gotta know is not to use soap on it and to get like a little steel wool pad. And when I got to really looking, I was like, ugh, this is nasty. We need to clean off this stovetop. So my girls are just in this mode where they want to help me at all times. So I'm just taking it while I can get it, training them up. If they want to be there helping me, even though it's a little bit slower, I just want to take the time to teach them. if I can, the right way to try to do things. My parents are absolutely wonderful, but I really spent a lot of my childhood playing softball, and I love softball. It was a great time. But one thing was I was just never home. I didn't really know how to do any of this stuff. My mom did it, and she, took care of the house. But when I became a woman, I really did not know what I was doing, and I honestly felt very inept at taking care of a home. And I think a lot of women feel that way. We feel kind of ill-equipped for this whole journey of motherhood, of womanhood. Honestly, that's why I started this whole channel and I started girlteachme.com. Is I feel really passionate about mentorship. Mentorship's been really big for me, just to even be in other women's homes and watch how they do things. I think YouTube is a really unique place where you get to watch other women do what they do and learn from them. And sometimes I wish I had been watching YouTube when I was a new mom, because I really could have used the help when it came to cleaning and all the things and making food. Just kind of figured things out slowly but surely, and just watching older women and talking with them. But back to the reason I called it Girl Teach Me, because I think that we can learn so much when we find women who are better at something than us and say, hey, girl, teach me. How do you decorate? How do you cook? How do you make sourdough? How do you discipline your children without getting angry? And I think just maybe because I'm naturally a curious person, I kind of did that and was, I guess, not afraid to lean in and ask other women how they did what they did. Because one thing I've noticed in women culture is just an intimidation. If you see somebody who's really good at something, sometimes as women, we can feel intimidated, where we don't want to. Maybe we're embarrassed that we don't know as much as them, but instead, so many women have so many different gifts, and it's not a put down at all to us as women. Just like some men are really good at grilling, and some men are really good at woodworking, and some men are really good at fixing things, and other men are really, really good at finances, or the list goes on and on. It's the same goes for women. Oh, I have to tell you about this. Okay, so we were making spaghetti squash, and we pulled the seeds out, and I thought, let's roast them. So we used a little bit of lemon zest, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of olive oil, and it was really good, like really, really, really good. That was gone super quick. Wish I could have showed you the after of that, but my kids devoured it. So if you're ever doing spaghetti squash or any kind of squash with seeds, try roasting them, salty or sweet. It's super delicious. My kids love chopping the lemon, squeezing the lemon juice out. We've done lemonade stands sometimes, at the end of our driveway. They've actually done really well with that. It's kind of funny, but I'm trying to get them to save the lemons here and just to infuse it in water, just to make the lemons last a little bit longer. Took the zest off, got the juice out. I really feel passionate sometimes about getting one thing and using it different ways. For instance, getting a whole chicken and then submerging it in water, boiling it, pulling the chicken off, shredding the chicken. And then you have chicken broth from the liquid that was boiling the chicken. Then you can take the bones and make bone broth. So it's just, this really fun iteration of like, how far can I stretch this one thing? And that's how I feel with this spaghetti squash, just taking the seeds out, using the noodles for spaghetti noodles. I also made some regular noodles because I knew that there would be somebody in my family who would feel passionate that they didn't want spaghetti squash. And in my house, I feel like everybody eats everything. But I kind of just feel like, okay, eat a couple bites. And then, if you want regular spaghetti noodles, you can have them. And so I feel like I haven't done a lot of things well, but I'm really thankful that somehow my kids are not picky eaters. And that's not a put down at all to you if your kids are picky eaters, because that just happens. But in my house, it's just like, hey, can you just take a bite? And I know maybe you didn't like it the time before, but did you know that sometimes it takes, this is me talking to my kids, like, did you know that sometimes it takes 7 times for your taste buds to decide if they like something? And then guess what? Your taste buds change every couple of years. So maybe if you've really decided that you don't like something, like wait some time and give it another shot. I know we all have our preferences. I had a mentor who had 4 children, and she said, Lana, just remind your kids you don't run a diner and you don't make special things for every single person. And having 5 children, that's helped me a lot is like, okay, this is what we're having. But I did make some regular spaghetti noodles and spaghetti squash noodles. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but really you just bake it and then you just run your fork over it and it just shreds the noodles perfectly. It's so wild. I feel like my one thing that I don't love about spaghetti squash is it sometimes feels a little bit watery. So I'm not sure. There's got to be a workaround for that. If any of you guys know that, throw that in the comments. How do you keep your spaghetti squash from getting watery? I kind of wonder if you shred it out and then maybe bake it just to dry up a little bit more of that moisture. That's my best guess. But one mom also told me, as you're cooking, try to do the dishes so that they don't build up on you instead of waiting until the whole meal is done and then doing the dishes. She said, just do a little as you go and it can really, really help clean up. So that's what I'm trying to do here is just, okay, I got some lag time in between recipes. Let's do a little bit of dishes. But wow, do the dishes ever build up, So been having my kids take some shifts of doing dishes. Actually, we sat down together. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on this wall, but I got a huge Post-it note and we kind of just made a huge list of, okay, what does it take to run this home? And they just gave me idea after idea and I wrote it all down. And then I said, okay, what do you really like to do? And we all went around and we put a smiley face with a name by each thing that the kid loved to do. Like I found out that one of my sons loves to wash dishes. His only thing is he doesn't like to get his hands wet and he wants to have on rubber gloves. So I got a call in the middle of this. I actually got rid of my smartphone and now I have a light phone. So it's this dinky, tiny little phone in my hand. And I just left that in there so that you could see it's just such a tiny phone and it's so funny to talk on. But it has been really good just to be less distracted. But I'm going to tell you, it's not seamless. It's not easy to use all the time. But anyways, I've been trying to empower the kids to, okay, let's do some chores maybe that we feel like are in our wheelhouse and we really enjoy, and let's maybe push through and do some that we don't enjoy, and just for them to have some responsibility and share some responsibility in the house, and to see that when they pitch in, I can have more fun. Just trying to help them feel more confident in doing little things around the house. So that's been my goal lately. We got chickens, I guess, last May. And so just feeding my scraps to the chickens. I actually took the spaghetti squash outsides and gave it to them, and they loved that. As you can see, the buttercups are in absolute prime, full bloom. They're so beautiful. I'm so thankful for them. Such a gift. When we moved in this house, we had no idea that the previous owner had planted buttercups until the spring, and it's just a delight every year to see them. So I hope you've enjoyed just resetting with me today in the kitchen. I hope you'll stay and hit subscribe. This whole channel is for you. It's to help you be a more intentional mom, and I'll see you again in the next video.
It's so unnecessary dwelling about the past, 'cause I know that God is good. He led me to where I'm at. Sometimes I feel like giving up, you're giving in, but everything happens for a reason. It won't always be blue skies ahead. Sometimes you might need a helping hand, just like iron sharpens iron, making me stronger, calling me higher. When we come together, just like iron sharpens iron, making us stronger, calling us higher. When we're helping each other, we're growing together.